we pray has gone cold.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to review the movie Nosferatu. I just got back from seeing it, and wow. If this movie isn't for everyone, but for anyone that this is their type of movie, this is a masterpiece. This is directed by Robert Eggers. He was the director that did The Witch, The Northman, The Lighthouse. So if you're familiar with his work, you kind of know what you're getting into with the visuals. He's known for his use of color and like abrupt sounds to kind of elicit a response from the audience. Phenomenal movie, and definitely a Robert Eggers film. You could tell he took part in writing this as well. This stars Lily Rose Depp as Ellen, Nicholas Hoult as Thomas, Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, Willem Dafoe as a professor, and Aaron Taylor Johnson as Friedrich. The cast could not have been any better. But I do have to say the star of this entire movie is definitely the cinematography. There is not a single ugly frame in this entire movie. If you pause at any part during this movie, any one of those frames could be a painting on your wall. The visuals are a perfect representation of the source material where it comes from. It's almost completely devoid of any color, which is super reflective of how the storyline progresses. The use of black and blues and grays kind of elicit a response from the audience that gives you pure escapism, to where not at a single point in the movie are you looking around saying, oh, I'm sitting in a movie and watching it. You are completely immersed. The film is kind of filled with like dizzying camera movements that kind of make you feel like the chaos and suffering that's going on in the movie. You're always unsettled. It's not an easy film to watch during the exciting parts, the suspenseful parts, but it pays off. It makes you feel everything that you're supposed to feel in a movie like this. So I think one of the best parts of the cinematography is kind of like, as an audience member, we're not in on the secret either. So we're picking up bits and pieces of the story just as the characters are. And we're making the discoveries of the plot points as the characters are. And the cinematography is very reflective of that. It kind of takes you on a journey of suspense and horror and love and everything that the source material, kind of puts on the page is lifted and put up on the screen. The wardrobes are phenomenal. Some of the best costuming I've seen in a movie. Very, very reflective of the time period. There's not a moment where you look at it and you're like, that's not exactly right. You feel like you're there. One of the most beautiful parts of this movie that I seen, and this is spoiler alert, there's a scene where Nicholas Holt's character Thomas is walking down a road in the middle of the night, and it's a crossroad, and all you see is a silhouette of trees, a dark light lighting the roads, and then a carriage coming down the street turns, and it's completely empty, and the door swings open. And it is probably the most beautiful piece of film I've ever seen in my life. I just looked at it and I wanted to take a picture of it and put it on my wall. Absolutely phenomenal. This movie is, the synopsis kind of is about a young girl, very impressionable young girl who's extremely lonely, who kind of calls out into the darkness for companionship, for something. And oddly enough, she receives an answer. And she has to make a pledge to this unknown being or entity, and he holds her to it. As her life progresses, he holds her to it eventually, and she becomes a pivotal part of what he's trying to accomplish. I kind of want to go through the cast because it was so phenomenal. The character Ellen, played by Lily Rose Depp, highly believable. I haven't seen her in a lot of stuff, so I was kind of looking at her like this character. But she is so impressive that there's moments where you have sympathy for her. There's moments where you have extreme anger for her while watching it, which is the same reaction the other characters get. So completely immersive. I think she completely understood her character to a T. Plus, she looks amazing on film. This film doesn't have a lot of color. So the way that she's represented with the darkness under her eyes, her very, very fair skin, her straight dark hair, and the late 1800s wardrobe just perfectly put her in that character. And it reminded me of how certain characters that popped off the screen, kind of like Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice or Christina Ricci in Sleepy Hollow, very much the same feel. So she did a phenomenal job. Nicholas Hoult plays her husband, Thomas. I think this was a super difficult character to play because there's such a huge contrast in the emotions that he has to display in this movie. There's moments of horror, moments of love, and moments of helplessness, and I think he navigated it perfectly. Uh, there's quite a few scenes where he has to do this on the fly pretty easily, and I don't know if the director set him up, but there was moments where certain things jump out or there's a certain surprise and he looks genuinely scared. So I would not be surprised if he didn't know it was coming. But very, very well done. Um, Willem Dafoe plays the professor, and I have to say he's probably my favorite character in the entire movie. It's a very colorless movie, but his character kind of brings the color to it. Plus, his voice added a level of gravitas because he is such a familiar character, such a familiar voice to all of us. In a way, it kind of provided almost a comedic relief in a movie that wasn't necessarily meant to be funny. He broke up the monotony of being on edge and being scared, and he brought a lot to this movie. Um, I mean, I was looking forward to absolutely every scene he was in, and every scene he was in, he completely stole it. Very seasoned actor, and I think he was perfectly cast for that role. Um, Next up, we have Aaron Taylor Johnson, which I know from Kick-Ass and Bullet Train and I think the 2014 Godzilla, and he plays Friedrich. And this role was a little difficult for me to swallow, but I think he handled it correctly. Basically, he's the son of a shipping empire. His dad passes away. He inherits the shipping empire. And so there's like really a level of fake it till you make it or imposter syndrome. And I think he played that really well. But in the end, you end up seeing that he really had no idea, what he was doing. And if that's the character, I think he did very, very well with it. And then finally, Bill Skarsgård, who is absolutely unrecognizable as Count Orlok. He created a voice that will literally haunt my dreams forever. The creep factor and the emotions that he was able to convey through the shadows is absolutely unbelievable. I don't think this role could have been played any better. And the only thing that was a little funny to me is I went back and I saw the original 1922 version of this movie, and I had a very, very vivid image of what this character looks like. But in this version, he has a mustache. And at first it was kind of funny, but as I was looking at it, and this is just speculation, but I think that they're modeling him almost after Vlad the Impaler, the guy that they think is the real Dracula. And if that's the case, it's done extremely well. And the similarities are very obvious. So if that's what they were going for, amazing, amazing job. Overall, I think it was the absolute perfect adaptation from the page to the screen. And it's one of the only times in my life where when I've read a book and I've imagined a movie, it looks just like that. I think it's a beautiful cinematic masterpiece with perfect cinematography, perfect color grading, a fantastic cast that's deserving of every award. The color work, the makeup is probably some of the best I've ever seen. And most of all, the lack of CGI in this movie kept me engaged the entire time. So for anyone who is a fan of suspense and horror, this is your movie. I consider it a masterpiece. So for me, I'm going to go 4 out of 5 stars for this movie. If you guys want to hear me react to anything else, leave a comment below. Remember to like and subscribe so I can grow the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.